You ever watch someone just collapse into bed at the end of the day, shoes still on, lights still flickering, their body just gives out, like they've been carrying a weight they didn't even know was there, and they sigh, that deep, tired kind of sigh, the one that says, I made it through another day. But did they? Did they really? Or did they just survive it? You ever notice how people talk to themselves when they're alone? A little murmur under their breath, a whispered thought, a name spoken into the silence. Oh, they don't even realize they're doing it. Just a habit, right? But here's the real joke. What if they're not the only ones listening? See, people think they're alone in their heads, that their thoughts belong to them and them alone. But oh, what a sweet little lie that is. Because there's something else in the room, always, watching, waiting, listening to every single thought that rolls through that tangled little mind of yours. But you barely acknowledge it. Too busy drowning in distractions, too busy filling the silence with noise, with nonsense, with anything that keeps you from facing the truth. You are never alone. And that's the real tragedy, because you've got the one thing that could change everything sitting right beside you, and you don't even see it. The Holy Spirit, it doesn't shout, doesn't grab you by the collar, doesn't shake you awake. No. It whispers. It waits. It watches you stumble, watches you break, watches you cry out for help. Help that was already there, but you didn't ask. You didn't even acknowledge it. That's the thing about people. They only recognize what they're expecting to see. If they don't believe something is there, they'll walk right past it, eyes open, heart closed, too blind to the very thing they need most. And the Spirit, it's patient. It won't force its way in. It won't demand attention. But that doesn't mean it's not there. That doesn't mean it's not listening. You ever watch someone sit across from another person, scrolling on their phone, completely ignoring the human being in front of them? That's what people do to the Spirit every single day. They walk through life like it's all up to them, like they've got to figure it out alone, like they've got to carry everything on their own shoulders. But they don't. They never did. But acknowledgement? Acknowledgement is a tricky thing, because the second you admit something is there, the second you look up, meet its gaze, speak its name, you can't ignore it anymore. And that's what scares people. Because if they acknowledge it, then they've got to listen. And if they listen, well, they might have to change. So they go on pretending they've got it all handled, pretending they don't need help, pretending that the weight pressing down on their chest is normal. But the truth is whispering. The truth is waiting. The truth is asking just one little question. Do you see me now? You ever see someone carrying a bag so heavy, so overstuffed that they can barely walk? They shift, they stumble, they keep adjusting the weight, thinking just a little further, I can handle it. I just need to hold on a little longer. But what a funny little lie that is. Because they're not handling it, they're drowning under it. But do they stop? Do they drop the bag, let go, free themselves? Oh, no. Because that would mean admitting they've been holding on to something they never had to carry. And that's the game, isn't it? People collect their burdens like little souvenirs. A mistake here, a regret there, a handful of what-ifs, a pocket full of should-haves. They pack them up, zip them tight, and lug them around like they owe it to themselves to suffer. And every night, oh, every night, they collapse under the weight, sinking into their beds, hoping that sleep will make it lighter. But sleep doesn't take it away. It just presses pause. Because the second they wake up, oh, guess what? The bag's still there. Hand it over. Release it to the only one who was ever strong enough to carry it. But they don't. They won't, because that would mean trusting something outside of themselves. And trust, oh, trust is a tricky little thing, isn't it? See, people will cling to pain just because it's familiar. They'll hold on to their past, their failures, their guilt, because at least they know it. At least it's theirs. But the idea of giving it up, of placing it in the hands of something unseen, something greater, something that doesn't need them to suffer, oh, that terrifies them. Because if they let it go, if they really let it go, then who are they without it? That's the real reason people don't surrender. Not because they can't, but because they don't know who they'd be without all that weight. They've worn their burdens like a second skin for so long that the thought of shedding them, of being free, that's more terrifying than the suffering itself. Because freedom means responsibility. It means stepping forward without excuses, without chains, without something to blame. And most people would rather stay trapped than face the unknown. But here's the truth. The weight, it was never theirs to carry. The burden, the guilt, the regret, it was always meant to be handed over, given up, released into the hands of something far stronger, far wiser, far kinder than they can even comprehend. But that requires one little thing, one little step that so many refuse to take. They have to ask, they have to surrender, they have to say, take this. I don't want it anymore. I was never meant to carry it anyway. But most of them, oh, they never do. Because they think suffering makes them stronger. They think carrying the weight proves something. But all it really proves, is that they'd rather break under the burden than admit they never had to carry it in the first place. You ever see someone staring at a puzzle, twisting the pieces, flipping them over, trying every possible way to make them fit, but no matter what they do, something's missing. They tilt their head, squint at it, sigh, mumble to themselves, maybe if I just try one more time, but deep down, oh, deep down they know the truth. The piece isn't there. It never was. And yet they keep trying. Keep forcing the wrong shapes into the empty space. Keep convincing themselves that if they just think hard enough, if they just try harder, they'll make it all come together, but it won't. Because no amount of effort, no amount of willpower, no amount of desperation can create something that was never theirs to begin with. People go through life exactly like that, searching for answers, chasing clarity, trying to understand why things happen the way they do. But the harder they try, the more tangled their minds become, because they think the answer is theirs to find. That if they just think enough, if they just obsess enough, if they just demand enough, they'll unlock some great hidden truth. But the truth? The truth was never hidden. That was just never meant to be seen their way, because real wisdom doesn't come from frantic question. It doesn't come from pacing the floor, from sleepless nights, from overthinking yourself into a hole so deep you can't even see the light anymore. No. It comes from something much simpler, something much quieter. It comes from asking the right source. But People don't do that. Oh no. They'd rather ask themselves, what? They'd rather sit in their own confusion, turn it over in their minds 1,000 times, convince themselves that if they just strain hard enough, they'll get the answer. But what they don't realize, what they refuse to realize, is that the answer was never inside them to begin with, because the mind is just another trap. A messy, tangled web of thoughts, of fears, of patterns so old they don't even know where they came from. And trying to find clarity in that mess, that's like trying to find the sun at the bottom of a well. It's not there. It was never there, because clarity, understanding, true wisdom, that comes from outside of you. That comes from the voice you've been drowning out with all your noise. People spend their whole lives searching for truth, and yet they never stop to ask the one who has it. They turn to books, to people, to screens, to distractions, to anything that lets them keep control. Because asking him, that means admitting they don't know. That means surrendering their little puzzle, their little illusion of control, and actually listening. But that's the problem, isn't it? People don't want wisdom, they want confirmation. They want to be right. They don't want an answer. They want their answer. And when they don't get it, then they throw their little tantrums. They cross their arms, scowl at the sky, say, "Why won't you tell me? Why won't you show me?" But the truth is that the answer was already given. They just didn't like it. So they pretend they didn't hear it. They go back to their puzzles, back to their overthinking, back to their exhausting little games, convincing themselves that one day, they'll figure it out. But they won't. Because there are some things that can only be seen when you stop trying to see them. Some answers that only come when you stop demanding them. Some wisdom that only enters a mind that has finally gone quiet. You ever see someone staring in the mirror real close, like they're searching for something? They tilt their head, squint a little, maybe touch their face like the answer is right there, just under the skin. But no matter how long they look, no matter how much they stare, they don't see what they're looking for. And that's because they don't even know what they're looking for. People walk around like they've got it all figured out, like they know who they are, where they're going, what they're doing. But if you ask them, really ask them, look them in the eyes and ask them, they freeze, they fumble, they laugh it off. Because deep down, they don't know. They've never known. They just play the part, wear the mask, say the lines, hoping that maybe, just maybe, one day they'll wake up and it'll all make sense. Because there's a little problem. A tiny detail they keep ignoring, and that is, they didn't make themselves. They didn't design their own souls, didn't draw up blueprints for their own existence. No, that was done for them. But do they ask the one who did make them? Do they turn to the only source that actually knows them? Down to every little crack, every little scar, every little piece they don't even show themselves? Of course not, because that would mean letting go of the illusion that they're in control. The illusion that they get to define themselves however they like, that they get to be whoever they say they are. But reality? Reality has a different story. Because who they really are, that was written long before they ever took a breath. But people don't want to hear that. No, they'd rather build their own identities from scraps, little bits and pieces of what the world tells them, what other people expect of them, what they think will make them matter. They spend years constructing this fragile little version of themselves, dressing it up, painting it nice, reinforcing it with all the praise and validation they can find. But the second something shakes it, it cracks. It crumbles, it falls apart, and they panic because now they don't know who they are. They don't realize that the only way to truly know themselves is to ask the one who made them. To stop looking in broken mirrors, in empty reflections, in places that were never meant to hold the truth. But they don't want to ask, because what if the answer isn't what they want to hear? What if the truth isn't something they like? What if it means changing, letting go, being something more than the shallow little image they spent their whole lives clinging to? People are scared of that. Scared of what they might hear if they actually listen. Scared of what they might become if they stop trying to become something on their own. Because it's easier, it's so much easier to just pretend, to just keep building, keep performing, keep convincing themselves that this right here is all there is. But deep down, deep down, they know better. They know there's more. They feel it. That little ache in the quiet moments, that little whisper when the distractions fade, that little pull that they keep trying to ignore, they know they're meant for something else, something greater, something they didn't create for themselves. But acknowledgement? That's a dangerous game. Because the second they acknowledge it, they can't go back to pretending. The second they ask, who am I, really? They have to be ready for the answer. And the answer? It might not be what they expected, but it will be true. It will be real. It will be the only thing that was ever real in the first place. You ever watch someone hold on to something so tight their knuckles go white? Like if they just squeeze hard enough, they can keep it, control it, make sure it never slips away. Maybe it's money, maybe it's power, maybe it's some silly little dream they stitch together out of desperation, convinced that if they just hold on, if they just refuse to let go, everything will work out. But what a funny little trick the universe plays. Because the tighter they grip, the more it slips right through their fingers. See, people don't realize that some things aren't meant to be held on to. Some things were never theirs to keep in the first place. But do they fight? Do they struggle? Do they panic at the thought of losing control? They tell themselves, this is mine, I built this, I earned this, I deserve this. But they forget one tiny, little, hilarious detail. They don't own anything. Not really. Not their money, not their time, not even their next breath. Because everything was given, lent, a gift from something far greater, far beyond their tiny little mortal understanding. But do they treat it like a gift? Do they hold it with open hands, ready to give, ready to trust? No. They hoard, they clutch, they chain themselves to things that were never meant to be theirs forever. And when those things are taken, then the real fun begins. Because nothing makes a person unravel quite like losing what they thought they controlled. It's in that moment, that delicious moment, that you see what they're really made of. Some of them get angry, furious, lashing out at the world, at God, at anyone who listens, screaming about how unfair it all is. Others, they break. They crumble under the weight of their own shattered expectations. Because deep down, they know the truth. They just don't want to face it. And the truth, oh, the truth is simple. They were never in control, not for a second, not of their money, not of their future, not of a single breath in their lungs. It was never theirs to command. They only thought it was. And isn't that just the biggest joke of all? But here's where it gets really interesting. Because some people, some rare people, they get it. They see it. When the world takes something from them, when the money disappears, when the plans fall apart, when the future they imagine burns right down to ashes, they don't fight it. They don't shake their fists at the sky. No, no, no. They smile because they know something the others don't. They know that loss isn't the end. It's a test. A little nudge, a little whisper, a little question from the one who really holds all the power. Do you trust me? Do you really trust me, or were you just pretending while things were easy? Most people fail that test. Oh, do they fail? They reveal themselves for what they are. People who only trusted when they thought they were in control. But the ones who pass, oh, they get to see something the others never will. They get to see what happens when you let go. When you stop clutching, stop hoarding, stop desperately trying to control something you never owned in the first place. Because when you let go, when you truly surrender, oh, that's when things get interesting. You ever see someone running in circles? Not literally, no, that would be too easy. I mean in their minds. In their lives. They wake up, they panic, they chase something they can't even name, something they think will fix them, make them whole, make them matter. But no matter how fast they run, no matter how many times they convince themselves they're getting closer, they're not. They're stuck because they don't even know what they're chasing. People spend their whole lives like this, chasing money, chasing happiness, chasing approval, success, love, control. Oh, it doesn't matter what the thing is. They all do the same dance. Some of them get so good at pretending they've got it figured out. They put on their little suits, their little smiles, they shake hands, they post pictures. They say all the right words, but if you look, really look into their eyes, you see it. That little flicker of panic, that little voice in the back of their head whispering, this isn't it. This isn't enough. This isn't what I was looking for. And that's the joke, isn't it? The biggest joke of all? That they don't even know what they're looking for. They just keep running, keep reaching, keep grabbing at anything that feels like it might be the answer. But every time they catch something, every time they get their hands on whatever it was they thought would finally satisfy them, it slips through their fingers like smoke. And they're left standing there, empty, confused, looking around like, wait, wasn't this supposed to fix me? But oh, they can't admit that. No, 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 because that would mean admitting they never knew what they were doing. So they double down, they run faster, they work harder, they chase more, convinced that if they just push a little further, if they just get one more thing, if they just achieve a little more, it'll finally all make sense. But it doesn't. It never does. Because the thing they're looking for, the thing they're desperate for, oh, it's not out there. It never was. Because the hunger they feel, the emptiness, the restlessness, the ache that keeps them up at night, that keeps them running in those same old circles, that hunger isn't for things. It isn't for money or status or love or admiration or any of the pretty little prizes the world keeps dangling in front of them like a carrot on a stick. No, no, no. That hunger, that's for something bigger, but they don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that they've been running the wrong race this whole time, that the thing they actually need isn't something they can buy or earn or steal, that it isn't something that fits in their neat little plans, their perfect little ideas of how their life should go. No, no, no. What they need, that requires something radical, because to find it, to really find it, they have to stop running. But stopping is terrifying, because if they stop, if they stand still for even a second, they'll have to face it. The truth that all their little games, all their achievements, all their desperate little distractions were just that, distractions. That none of it was ever going to fill the hole inside them. That the thing they need isn't something they can chase. It's something they have to surrender to. And people don't like surrender. They like control. They like to earn things, to deserve things, to be in charge of their own lives. But the truth is that the thing they need most is the one thing they can't control. But admitting that, that takes a kind of strength most people don't have. That takes real courage. The kind that doesn't come from power or money or success or any of the things they've spent their whole lives chasing. It comes from letting go. It comes from trusting something bigger than themselves. It comes from stopping the race. And the funny thing is, once they finally stop running, that's when they realize the thing they were looking for, the thing they needed all along, was never in front of them. It was behind them the whole time.